Hi, my name is Yong, and today I'll be talking about a contemporary business problem facing by one of the world's largest bank, HSBC. I call this problem a twin squeeze, and I'll be using macroeconomics framework and Excel to make my analysis. So, the contemporary business problem faced by HSBC right now is the twin squeeze. First, as global central bank cuts interest rates, the profit margin HSBC makes on traditional loan shrinks rapidly. Second, slow economic growth in China means consumer confidence is low, which further reduces the fees HSBC collect from its wealth management divisions. To analyze this across a full 5 year cycles, I constructed a proxy data set. I pulled real macroeconomics data from RFED and the World Bank because HSBC does not release quarterly margin data consistently. I took their official annual figures and engineered realistic quarterly proxy number to match. This allowed me to build a complete spreadsheets to run the exact Excel regressions and forecasting models needed to solve this problem. For the first problem, I look at monetary policies to see how central bank interest rates cuts impact HSBC core profitability. To prove these connections, I ran the linear regressions in Excel using the US Central Bank interest rates as my independent variable X and HSBC's net interest margin or NIM as my dependent Y variables. As you can see from the screenshots of my Excel output, the R square is 0.887. This tells us that nearly 89% of the movement in HSBC's profit margin is driven directly by central bank rate shifts. Furthermore, my X coefficient is 0.083. In simple terms, this means every time the central bank cuts interest rate by 1%, HSBC's profit margin mechanically drops by 0.083 percentage. This proves that HSBC's core lending business is highly exposed to the downturn phase of monetary policy cycles, creating an urgent problem that management needs to solve. The second problem, I look at economic growth to see how China's slowing economic impact HSBC wealth divisions. I use a dual axis chart in Excel to compare China's real GDP growth against the growth of HSBC wealth fees. To predict the rest of 2026, I used Excel's forecast linear formula. I held China's GDP flat at its current 2026 Q1 level of 3.6%. When I plugged this baseline into the forecasting formula, it calculated that HSBC's wealth fees growth will drop sharply into the negative 2.5 percentage in Q2, negative 3.2 percentage in Q3, and negative 9.6% in Q4 of 2026. This proves that a stagnant economic direct wipe out fee-based growth, compounding the revenue problem. It confirms that HSBC cannot rely on its wealth division to solve its profits during this downturn, solidifying our twin squeeze problem. Now, in slide 5, we combine both the problems to show the total impact of HSBC. To simulate a corporate stress test, I built an Excel's if-and logic formula. I set the rule so that if HSBC's net interest margins drop below 1.4 percentage and wealth fee growth below 0 percentage, the spreadsheet flags a critical risk with red color. As you can see in the table, this tool is highly accurate. It correctly flagged a critical risk back in 2022 during the COVID-19 shock when China's GDP collapsed and rates were low. While the bank recovered during the high rate years of 2023 and 2024, our data shows we have re-entered that exact same danger zone. From late 2025 throughout 2026 forecast, the spreadsheet shows that continuous red flag. This proves management must make a better business decision now before profit drops further. So, how do we solve the twin squeeze? To make a better business decision, HSBC needs to fundamentally pivot its business model. Our data proves that we can no longer rely purely on interest-based loan or wealth management fees. Instead, management must quickly shift capital into growing fixed fee service like digital transactions, banking, and corporate trade financing. These services charge flat transaction fees that stay stable no matter what the US central bank does with its interest rates. The great real world example here is DBS Bank in Singapore. When they faced shrinking margins from low interest rates, they invested heavily in digital transactions technology. By generating steady fees incomes from everyday business transactions, they successfully protected their profit from macroeconomic shocks. HSBC needs to follow the exact blueprint. To apply this solution directly to HSBC, management must take two immediate action based on our Excel data. First, we must shrink any major expansion in traditional corporate lending within markets where central banks are currently cutting their rates. We know from our regression model that these loans will just shrink our margins further. Second, we need to take safe capital and reinvest it into upgrading HSBC's digital corporate platform to process more global trades. By capturing flat transaction fee, we create a new revenue stream that ignore interest rate and GDP slowdown. Ultimately, this data-driven action plan directly resolve the critical risk our spreadsheet flagged, building a protective wall around HSBC's profit so it survives this macroeconomic downturn. Finally, for the conclusions, the skill demonstrated in these presentations are highly valued in roles like financial risk analysis within global banking sectors. As I prepare to head into my mandatory internship next year and transition into the professional world, my analytic capability have grown significantly throughout these courses. I've also learned the immense value of utilizing pre-calculated financials indexes like net interest margins. Instead of getting bogged down calculating raw data from scratch, I use these established metrics to instantly understand a company's conditions. By combining this index with Excel tools like linear regressions and forecastings, I can quickly prove how global forces impact a balance sheet and recommend strategic solutions that protect the business. Thank you.